think the Chiefs had some gripes and complaints about their week one performance as they do get Chris Jones to a 1 year deal. The math on Chris Jones' situation, just before we kind of get into, of course, how Kansas City needed to do this because of week one. So they lock him up on a 1 year deal. On his prior deal, he was due $19.5 million. He had a $500,000 workout bonus plus $1.25 million with 10 sacks, which would give him about 21 and a quarter million, Lord, not billion, right? We're talking about 400 years from now in the NFL. 21.25 million of max value in cash. He surrendered about 3.6 million in fines from holding out, close with the missing the workouts as well. He can make up 3.5 million of that back by playing 50% of the snaps, getting 15 sacks, earning first team All Pro, and making the Pro Bowl. So he's got to do a lot in order to recoup that. But Chris Jones said he was going to go out and be Defensive Player of the Year. As a matter of fact, if he does win Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, he'll get an extra $2 million. So it just bumped him up by $2 million. He's now got a new max cash value of $23.15 million. And the Chiefs had to do this, right? Like week one was enough for them. Goff had probably the cleanest pocket of week one. And the Chiefs were like, no. We can't do that. We can't do that. We got to get Chris Jones back in here. We got to get our 4-time Pro Bowler in here. We got to get our All Pro back in here. We got to get our guy who is top 5 in sacks in the league over the last 4 or 5 years. Got to reel him back in. You got to bring back your third best player. I mean, you can't be cookie cutter about it in a loaded AFC. You see what the Colts were hanging with the Jags. Y'all saw the Browns just beat the Bengals. The Bengals aren't nearly as good. Like the AFC is going to be, I think it's going to be a little more interesting. It's not going to be as cookie cutter and binary as we think. We understand clearly that we have our predictions about the NFL, but things always change up. But the Chiefs had to do this. There's no doubt about the Chiefs having to get this signing done. Very key part of that defense. If they want to hang in this loaded AFC, if they want to repeat, if they really want to have that great season and hang in the AFC West, because the Raiders just beat the Broncos. I still think the Broncos are better than the Raiders. And the Chargers just lost a shootout to the Dolphins, who are also in your conference. So it's just, again, a lot of offense to keep up with. But I think this should be a domino to get another offensive player because Kadarius Toney, who knows, he could come back and still ball with, Rashee Rice, with Sky Moore. I don't know the status of Travis Kelce yet. I hope it's a domino. If I could see the Chiefs being very active at this year's trade deadline because they want to repeat. Mahomes isn't playing around. Andy Reid isn't playing around. Andy Reid is moving up that all-time list of wins, being one of the most winningest coaches. So this wasn't a surprise for me. I knew that the Chiefs were going to bring Chris Jones back. It was just a matter of when. He was willing to hold out until week 8 so he could still get credit for that full season. But nonetheless, he does not go to another NFL team. The Chiefs are smart and bring him back. Again, just a little bit of his incentives. He lost about 3.6 million in fines from holding out. He can make up 3.5 million of that if he plays 50% of the snaps, gets 15 sacks, goes first team All Pro, and has to make the Pro Bowl. But if you're going first team All Pro, you're making the Pro Bowl, not always necessarily one before the other. And if he wins Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, he'll make 2 million more bucks than he did last year. So still a good contract for Chris Jones, right? I think the Chiefs wanted to keep the noise down on this. They didn't want to let this leak out. They didn't want to have Chris Jones not on the roster. I mean, let's just be real. He's their third best player on the team. Mahomes, Kelce, Chris Jones. Show me somebody else that's providing value like Chris Jones. Show me somebody else that plays in that vital position of pass rusher like Chris Jones does.